Hi everyone, so today's lesson is Unit 3, Lesson 11 on dilations. So if you think about dilations, some of you may have had the experience of going to the eye doctor and getting your eyes dilated. And when your eyes are dilated, that means your pupils are getting bigger or smaller. And that's exactly what we're doing with the shapes. We're either making them bigger or smaller, depending on what the scale factor is. So let's fill this in. It says a dilation is the enlargement, meaning bigger, or reduction of a figure, meaning we're either making the shape bigger or smaller. The scale factor, which you guys talked about last year with scale drawings, indicates how much the figure will enlarge or reduce. The variable that we use for the scale factor is k, and if k is bigger than 1, so something like 2 or even 1.5 or 3, the dilation is an enlargement. And then if k is less than 1, like a half or 2/3, the dilation is a reduction. The shape will get smaller. All right, let's jump into the first example here. We have triangle RST. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the original triangle. You guys do the same. All right, so there's my triangle RST. Now, looking at the scale factor, we have k is 2. That's bigger than 1, so I know that my shape is going to get bigger. I'm just going to end up with a bigger triangle. So to get all of the new points for our triangle that's twice as big, all you have to do is multiply the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate by 2. So to find r prime, I'm going to take the x for r and the y for r and multiply it by 2. So 2 times -5 gets me -10. And then 2 times 1 is 2. For s, I'm going to do the same thing, multiply both by 2. 2 times -3 is -6, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So that s prime would be the point -6, 8. Then I'm going to do the same thing for t. 2 times 2 is 4, and then 2 times -1 is -2. So t prime would be at 4, -2. So now that I have the new points, same process as before, go ahead and graph them. So I'm going to graph the point -10, +2, and that's r prime. -6, +8 for s prime. And then t prime is at 4, -2. Now make sure that you are labeling all of your points and that you have your prime marks to show that the bigger triangle is the new one. So you can see that our triangle is about twice as big. Let's go ahead and do number 2. I have rectangle ABCD. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the original. A is at -3, 0, so that's left 3, up or down 0. B is at 1, 2. C is at 2, 0. And then D is at -2, -2. So there's my new triangle, there's my rectangle, the original rectangle. My scale factor is 3, so again, our rectangle is going to get bigger. And to get the new points, I'm just going to multiply the original points by 3. So 3 times -3 is -9. 3 times 0 is 0. So A prime is going to be at -9, 0. So again, for B, multiply both by 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. For C, we've got 3 times 2 is 6, and then 3 times 0 is 0. And then for D, 3 times -2 is -6. And again, 3 times -2 is -6. So D prime will be at -6, -6. So now that I have these points, I can go ahead and graph them. So -9 zeros here, left 9, up or down 0, 3, 6 is here. So that's B prime. And then C prime is 6, 0. And then D prime is -6, -6. And yes, you do get calculators to do this. So this is the only one where our shape is going to change size. A dilation is the only time we will change size. It should still be the same shape, so notice I still have a rectangle, it's just a bigger rectangle. For translations, reflections, and rotations, remember the shape does not change size. Now question 5 is a little bit different because they already graphed the original triangle and the image for us, and they want us to find the scale factor. So, looking here, I have triangle FDE as my large triangle, and then my smaller triangle, the new one, is also, well, it's F prime, D prime, E prime. So I know that the triangle got smaller because the small triangle is the one with the prime marks. So in order to figure out what the scale factor is, there's a couple different things you can do. I'm going to look at point D, which I'll do in red because that's the original. Point D is 0, left or right 0, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And then it becomes D prime, which is 0, 2. So, because it's getting smaller, I know it has to be something like a fraction, like 1/2 or 1/3 or 1/4 or 2/3. So, I need to figure out what I am multiplying by to get from 6 to 2. So I'm thinking you can think of an equation if you want. 6 times x gives me 2, and solve the equation. Or what I found most students like to do is they just take the new point and divide it by the old point. So our new x coordinate, or the new y coordinate 2, divided by the old one 6, gives us 1/3, which again, you would have calculators for this. And you can check that that works for all of the other points as well. So I will look at point F. Point F is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6, -3. And then F prime was -2, -1. So again, I'm going to take the new point and divide it by the old. For the x's, that would be -2 divided by -6. And yep, that's positive 1/3. For the y coordinates, it would be -1 divided by -3, which again is positive 1/3. So it looks like k is definitely 1/3. And you can always check that that works by then taking the original points and multiplying by 1/3, and you should get the new points. So we're going to do this again over here. We are, for number 6, finding the scale factor. So again, I'm going to take the new point and divide it by the old. So I'm going to look at, let's do, doesn't matter which pair you choose. I'll look at W prime and W. Notice that our original trapezoid is the small one, and the new one here is the bigger one, so that means our scale factor should be larger than 1. So, W prime, we've got negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's this point here, W prime. And then the original W is negative 2, positive 2. So that's this one here. So, negative 8 divided by negative 2 gets us positive 4. So it looks like our scale factor is 4. I'm going to just check that with the y coordinates here. 8 divided by 2 is also 4. So it looks like our scale factor this time is k equals 4, which is why the trapezoid got so much bigger, because 4 is significantly, multiplying by 4 is significantly larger than multiplying by 2 or 3. So that's why it got so much larger this time. So when you are asked to find the scale factor, you are trying to figure out what you're multiplying by. So in that case, you're going to do the opposite, and you're going to divide. The new point divided by the old point. And again, you can always check your work. If I take the point negative 2, 2, and I multiply them both by 4, guess what? I get negative 8, positive 8, which is what the new point W prime was. So I know I got the correct scale factor there.